In this lecture, we are going to study projectile motion under air resistance. Before that, we must know what are the equations for instantaneous velocity, its x component, instantaneous x position, instantaneous velocity y component, instantaneous y position without air resistance. So these are the equations. I written already those equations down on this board. Vx is equal to u cos theta and x is u cos theta into t. Vy is u sin theta minus gt and y is u sin theta minus 1 half gt square. In these equations, when we plot x and y, we get a trajectory of this type. And this instantaneous x position of velocity or x component of velocity does not change with respect to time, and this component we know goes on decreasing up to here it is 0 and it goes on decreasing on negative sides, on negative side goes on increasing, sorry, on negative side in downward direction. So for studying the motion under air resistance, we must make some assumptions. First assumption is that acceleration due to gravity is constant throughout motion. We know that acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meter per second square. So for projectile motion of limited range, means the projectile which does not go beyond certain heights and range is limited, for projectiles g is constant. Okay, we know that as we go above from the surface of earth, value of g goes on decreasing, so we are not going to take that effect here into consideration. Also, acceleration due to gravity is not constant on equator and on poles. On equator the value is slightly higher, and on poles acceleration due to gravity is slightly less. Okay, so we are not taking those effects. So first our assumption is that the motion is under constant acceleration. Second assumption is that effect of effect of earth rotation is negligible. Why we are taking this? Because if we consider effect of earth rotation, then again this acceleration due to gravity, we have to take certain component in that acceleration due to gravity. Okay, because for projectile there are two accelerations, one is due to earth rotation and another one is acceleration due to gravity. Okay, so for those two we have to neglect effect of earth rotation. If we take effect of earth rotation, then we have to take Coriolis force into consideration. Again, these effects are negligible for very small range of projectile, and okay, velocity of projectile is less. For such projectile we can neglect Coriolis force and g also. Then next very important assumption is that force of air resistance is directly proportional to velocity of that projectile. This velocity is instantaneous velocity of that projectile. It means the velocity at particular instant. Now, and we also know that this is directly proportional to mass. From this equation, we have to get equation for air resistance force. So force of air resistance is equal to some constant k, mass and velocity. We can combine those two, mass and velocity here. Now velocity and air resistance force are related by certain constant. This constant is k. Okay. Now, how to find out dimension of that k? Okay. We know that mass into velocity is nothing but momentum. Okay. And force is nothing but rate of change of momentum. Okay. So here momentum divided by time. Okay. Dimension of momentum. We know that dimension of momentum are kg, meter per second. Okay. And here this has dimension of only momentum. So from this we get dimension of k as 1 upon t. Okay. So per second, 1 upon t means per second are the dimension of this factor k, which is known as air resistance constant. Okay. Or coefficient of force of air resistance, more precisely. Now next, from this equation, we know that projectile motion is a planar motion, which means we have to take two axes into consideration, x and y. So force of air resistance whose x component is km into here x component of velocity, and force of air resistance whose y component is km y component of velocity. Now, the role of air resistance is to oppose the motion of that projectile. That's why it is known as resistive force. It resists motion, okay, of that projectile. That's why here we have to introduce negative sign, okay, and these forces have negative sign, which means that the forces are air resistive forces always directed towards opposite direction of motion. Means if we take horizontal component as this, then air resistance force is like this. For vertical motion is like this, then air resistance force is like this. Okay. Now next we have to apply Newton's second law of motion for this type of motion. Okay. So from Newton's law of motion, we know that we can take force, mass into acceleration. Now, for planar motion, x component of external force is mass into x component of acceleration, and y component of force is mass into y component of acceleration. So again, we can solve for horizontal direction and for vertical direction. Now, I have to rough this. First, we consider horizontal motion. For horizontal motion, external force along horizontal direction. In this case, in absence of air resistance, there is no any horizontal force. But in presence of air resistance, there is air resistive force, which is minus km Vx. And this is equal to mass into acceleration is ax. Okay. So this is the equation we get from applying Newton's second law along horizontal motion or horizontal direction. Now we can take out this mass, okay, and we know that acceleration is nothing but rate of change of velocity. Since this is x component of acceleration and this is nothing but rate of change of velocity whose x component. Okay, so we get equation as ax is minus k into vx. Now our next equation is to get instantaneous x component of velocity. Dvx upon dt is equal to minus k into vx. Okay, so this is again linear homogeneous first order differential equation. By solving this equation, we get equation for Vx, which is instantaneous x component of velocity. So by separation of variables, dvx, we can take Vx over here is equal to minus k, and we can take dt on right hand side. So dvx upon Vx is equal to minus k into dt. So integrating this equation, we get dvx upon vx as ln of vx is equal to minus k, it's constant, integration of dt is t plus constant of integration c1. As I mentioned in our previous lecture that why we take this constant, because this motion is bounded motion, and bounded motion means it start here and ends over here. Okay, so this is the initial position at t is equal to 0, which means at time t equal to 0, x component of velocity is u cos theta, y component of velocity is u sin theta at t equal to 0. X position is 0, y position is 0. So these are the initial conditions. Now to find out this value of c1, we have to put initial conditions in this equation. Now call this as equation 1. So at t is equal to 0, okay, look at this equation. At t is equal to 0, we have to put value of ln of vx, which means vx is equal to vx0, which is u cos theta. So this is initial position. At time t equal to 0, which means we are over here, when time t is 0, initial component of velocity is u cos theta. So put in equation 1, we get ln of vx0 at t equal to 0. Okay, so this is ln of vx0 is equal to c1, because when we put t equal to 0, this factor goes to 0. Okay, there is one very interesting fact about dimensional analysis. You take any equation at any stage of our derivation, dimensions are same, means ln of vx is dimensionless. Once we take ln of any factor, it becomes dimensionless. K 1 upon t. Okay, if you remember just few minutes ago, t seconds, so 1 per second into second, this becomes dimensionless. So c1 must be dimensionless, that's why ln of vx0 is dimensionless factor like this. Okay, now next, put this in equation 1, what we get, ln of vx is equal to minus kt plus, instead of c1 we get ln of vx0. If we take ln of vx0 towards left hand side, it becomes ln of vx minus ln of vx0. By rule of ln, we get ln of vx upon vx0 is equal to minus kt. Now if you take exponential on both sides, so e raised to ln of vx upon vx0, it becomes vx upon vx0 is equal to e raised to minus kt. If we take vx0 toward right hand side, it becomes vx is equal to vx0 e raised to minus kt. and we know that Vx0 is nothing but u cos theta. So instantaneous x component of velocity becomes, so this is the equation for instantaneous x component of velocity. In absence of air resistance, what we get? Vx is u cos theta. In presence of air resistance, we get factor of e raised to minus kt, which means x component decaying with as time goes on increasing. Okay, so due to this factor, e raised to minus kt, we know that this is for exponential decay term. This factor goes on decreasing, okay, with respect to time. Now we have to find out instantaneous x position. Okay, for that, from equation 2, we know that Vx is nothing but dx upon dt, which is u cos theta e raised to minus kt. Again, this is linear homogeneous ordinary first order differential equation. So we can take time factor and position factor towards left hand side and right hand side by separation of variables method, and we can solve this equation. For solving purpose, we take instead of this as Vx0. Afterwards we put this u cos theta. So again, dx is equal to Vx0 e raised to minus kt, okay, into dt. Integrating this equation, what we'll get? Integration of dx is x is equal to Vx0, and integration of e raised to minus kt is e raised to minus kt upon minus k, and plus next constant of integration as c2. So I know you understand well why we get this constant c2 and about dimensionality of this equation. X is position, which is in meters. Vx0 meter per second. So this per second will goes out and here remains meter. Dimension of e raised to minus kt is dimensionless, like this one. When we take ln of this factor, this becomes dimensionless. Likewise, when we take e raised to this factor, it becomes dimensionless. Again, k is per second, t is second, so e raised to any term is always dimensionless. Okay, keep this in mind always. Now, to find out value of c2, we have to plug again initial conditions. What are those initial conditions? At t is equal to 0, its instantaneous x position is 0. So we can put this in above equation. So what we get? See, on left hand side it becomes 0. Vx0 at t equal to 0, it becomes e raised to 0, and e raised to 0 is 1. So 0 is equal to Vx0 plus c2. So which means c2 is nothing but, when we take Vx0 towards right hand side, it becomes minus Vx0 upon k. See, I forgot this factor minus 1 upon k. At t equal to 0, this factors becomes 1 because e raised to 0 is 1, minus Vx0 upon k. When we take this towards right hand side, which means that c2 is equal to Vx0 upon k. So use in above equation. So we get instantaneous x position as x is equal to minus vx0 upon k e raised to minus kt plus vx0 upon k. So x is equal to, we can take vx0 upon k as constant. So it becomes 1 minus e raised to minus kt. So by using vx0 as u cos theta, becomes u cos theta upon k 1 minus e raised to minus kt. So this is the instantaneous x position of that projectile. So in absence of air resistance, the equation is quite straightforward. X is equal to u cos theta upon t, and here x is equal to u cos theta upon k 1 minus e raised to minus kt. Okay, so these are the equations for horizontal direction. In our next lecture, we will see same equations for vertical direction. Okay, so with this I stop my lecture.